Welcome back to Law and Crime. Well, I kind of overpromised and now I'm under-delivering. Getting Gigi set up still. We got to get the tin cans, a long string. It's a whole process. But we'll have that for you very soon here. She is, of course, in Boise, Idaho, as we follow the Lori Vallow Daybell triple murder case. Before we took the break, we were listening to some of the testimony. Again, the court is releasing audio only on a delayed basis. And we had Detective Hermosillo, who was one of the first involved in the disappearance, as it was first characterized, the disappearance of the two kids. Then it became obviously much more. He was direct examined yesterday, earlier today, some cross-examination. Let's go back for more of that audio interview.
Detective, as part of your investigation, did you help execute a search warrant on the Daybell residence?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
June 9th, 2020.
What is the address of that residence?
202 North, 1900 East, Fremont County.
Okay. Now, just for clarification, what city is that listed in?
It's listed in Rexburg,
Okay.
but it's in Fremont County.
Okay, because Rexburg is normally in Madison County.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. As you executed that search warrant on June 9th, what was the first thing you did?
On June 9th, we got to Chad Daybell's residence at approximately 7 in the morning. We went and made contact, knocked on the front door. Chad Daybell's son, Mark Daybell, answered the door. He had a bowl of cereal in his hand. He was eating cereal. It was early in the morning. And we informed Mark why we were there and that we needed to speak with Chad Daybell.
Okay. Then what happened?
Mark told us that his dad, Chad, was still asleep and directed us to Chad's room, which is it's like a loft room that was above the garage area. So he walked us through the house and to the stairwell of Chad's room.
Okay. And what did you observe then?
We walked up the stairwell, announced ourselves. Chad was still asleep in bed as we came around the little half wall. Chad sat up. We told Chad why we were there, that we had a search warrant, search the property and the residence. He asked if he can get dressed and get some clothes on. We allowed him to do that. And then he walked back downstairs with us into the kitchen area.
So, very important testimony for this jury, kind of laying the foundation for the investigation into the missing kids, JJ and Tylee, which soon became far worse. And again, we're following the Lori Vallow Daybell case out of Idaho. Bob Mata's here, criminal defense attorney, also Tyler Bailey. So, guys, you know, there's, I think, maybe, I don't know, a feeling by the prosecution to just dump everything they can on a jury because there is so much in this case. But I get the feeling this has been more restrained in the way they laid it out in openings and in now the way they're just kind of putting some of the early building blocks together. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I agree. You know, a lot like Murdaugh, there's going to be a lot for the jury to digest. And a lot like Murdaugh, it's going to have to be put together in a way that they can digest it. You know, I mean, because at the end of the day, this is not going to be about them producing evidence that Lori Vallow got her hands dirty, meaning that she actually is the one who committed the crimes. You know, I keep calling her the puppet master, and I'm going to keep saying it until it sticks, because that's what she was. I mean, she had these guys, every man in her life, doing her bidding. And, you know, the sad truth of the matter is that her bidding was to rid herself of these two kids. You know, but culpability, it sticks with her. It doesn't matter if she was actually doing the deeds, if she was instructing and maneuvering these guys to do what she wanted to have done. She's just as culpable as they are.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of layers to who was doing what and when. We just know the ultimate and horrible result. Tyler, hang in there for just a minute because I have Gigi. Gigi is now outside the courthouse, and she's very important. She's got a schedule. We got to keep this on schedule. Gigi McKelvey. So what do you think, Gigi? the testimony has been fascinating, right? Melanie Gibb on the stand today, especially on cross. Give us the feel.
Well, I have to say, the jurors came in looking fresh-faced. They had their notebooks and their pencils. They looked ready to go. And then as this testimony progressed, their faces told a story. They were perplexed. They were shocked. They were trying to digest some of these crazy beliefs that Melanie Gibb was telling the court that they believed in, such as zombies and dark spirits entering bodies and casting out sessions where they would try to pray these dark demonic entities out of bodies. And this jury has had a heck of a twist this morning. And the other thing, they finally heard that Charles Vallow was shot by Alex Cox, who is Lori's brother. You could see the reaction on their face when it took that turn as well.
You know, we were talking earlier about how important the jury selection was in this case, how most folks had to have had some sense of it. But it sounds like to me, from what you were observing in the courtroom, that these jury members were hearing some stuff that was fresh to them and shocking, as it was to anybody who heard it the first time. And we know the whole preppers experience was kind of how Lori and Chad got together, and that spirals into all of these, you know, zombie stories, bringing people back from the dead. What do you think about Melanie Gibb? How's she doing? You know, we've seen so much of her in other contexts, in interviews. How's she doing on the stand?
She's holding her own on the stand. I think for people that know this case, she kind of downplays her beliefs in what they were teaching back then. She was very much involved. She was Lori's best friend throughout this whole process. But, I mean, she's coming across as credible. I haven't seen or heard anything from her that would make me think a juror would not take her seriously. I mean, she's admitting to some kind of embarrassing things that she was a part of, and it's kind of visible with her at times, too. She'll put her head down and kind of look down. It's been interesting to watch the dynamic between Lori and Melanie Gibb. Lori has stolen some glances, as has Melanie, and when they lock eyes, they divert really quickly. There's a little bit of tension in that courtroom with those two.
I can imagine the proverbial daggers in the eyes, maybe going both ways. So do you get the sense from Melanie that there was a turning point in her relationship with Lori? And if so, in the testimony, have you heard her talk about that? Because clearly they were buds for a long time.
Yeah, really the turning point came when Lori told authorities during the welfare check that JJ was with Melanie Gibb in Arizona. And in fact, later on, Alex Cox, who is Lori's brother, told Melanie Gibb, wow, she really threw you under the bus. And not only that, but Lori and Chad separately called Melanie Gibb that day and told her not to answer the phone when police called, and gave her a story that JJ was in danger and he was somewhere safe. Lori specifically told Melanie Gibb on a phone call that they played in court, by the way, a 20-minute phone call that Melanie Gibb recorded, that she knew exactly where JJ was and that he was safe and happy. This is Lori. So that's something that is going to come back, I think, later on in this trial.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I was curious whether the jury had heard some of these surreptitiously recorded calls. These obviously occurred after Melanie Gibb became, the former best friend of Lori Vallow, because she did these phone calls. I think we have one of those calls. Producer Elizabeth, can we listen to that?
Hello, sweet Melanie.
Hi, Chad. Hey, Lori.
Hey, let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
We're okay. How are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hanging out? Are you in Idaho?
We're in Idaho.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, Lori.
Yeah, of course, honey.
I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house, and you told me they went there, and now he's not there? I was wondering what happened.
Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So.
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something? Or, like, trying to kidnap him?
Well, she said that lots of times before, but,
Okay, when I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, should be in danger to know where he is?
No, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay.
So,
If you know, that puts you in a danger.
well, just in a bad position.
Yeah, bad position.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Right, so you're just worried. Okay.
I'm just to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
keep everybody else good.
I appreciate that. Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, yeah. So do you think it's like your family, or like your family, your dad, or those
Well, my
people?
family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me and with her, basically.
Yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Are you afraid of anything? Are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? If I knew, how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
Well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Are the kids safe? Oh, yeah, they're great. That call took place in December of 2019. They disappeared in September 2019. Pretty certain they were not great at or about that time. Gigi McKelvey here still from the courthouse there in Boise, Idaho. Let me ask you about Chad. How is that being handled in this case? Is he being discussed at all, mentioned at all? How are they doing that?
Yeah, it's come more with Melanie Gibb's testimony than it has so far, where they're really just sort of introducing the belief system, and Lori would get her answers from him, and then Lori would convey those things that she learned from Chad to other people. So we're starting to kind of build the framework of this group, which is central to the story and these beliefs that they had.
So we know that Chad is going to be tried separately. There's not been a trial date set for his trial yet, and who knows what impact this trial may have on what he decides to do. Who knows if this goes totally south? Maybe he takes a plea deal. I mean, have you heard anything about how he's cooling his heels, and is he going to testify in this case?
We have not heard that. His attorney is here today. He just walked across the street about 10 minutes ago, not talking to reporters, but he's been a consistent fixture here. And I mean, he is a front row seat to kind of what's to come for his client. Maybe he tells him, look, man, it's not looking good for you. Let's just plead guilty and get, that way you don't get put to death. Death is still on the table for Chad, not for Lori, but Chad is still an option. So he's set to go to trial either late this year or early next year. We still haven't had a date set.
Yeah, that is a heavy chip on the poker table there, is that the death sentence. So before I let you go, I know you got to get back in there and grab your seat. So what do we expect after Melanie Gibb gets done? Do you have any idea who's coming up?
No idea. I've been looking out to see if there's any of the key players here. I literally almost ran into Melanie Gibb upstairs, and I immediately got on Twitter on Law&Crime and said, hey, she's here. So I was expecting more forensic, pathology stuff, but or medical examiner, but man, she came out of nowhere. So who knows? Maybe we'll have another one of their key group members on the stand next. I'm very curious to see. Can't wait to update you guys.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who you literally bump into next in the hallway there. So head back up, Gigi. Thank you so much. Great stuff. We look forward to your next report here out of Boise, Idaho.
Thank you. You
bet. Okay, Gigi McKelvey, she'll be back with us as she reports from the courthouse. Lori Vallow Daybell on trial, not for a life and death decision, but life without the possibility of parole if found guilty in the deaths of really any of the three would carry the same penalty. Let's take a break. We'll come back and talk more about this case right after this.